When the stage lights went out, nobody could believe it. Legendary jazz pianist Arthur Bellwether collapsed mid-performance, his hands frozen over the keys. At 78, he was supposed to be enjoying retirement, not fighting for his life on a stretcher surrounded by stunned fans and flashing cameras. Paramedics rushed him to St. Vianney. Vincent's wild concert-goers wept in the aisles, still clutching their programs like prayer books. Arthur had played Carnegie Hall 3 times, toured with Ella Fitzgerald in '69, and once shared a bottle of bourbon with Ray Charles under a starless Chicago sky. But now, as the ambulance siren wailed through downtown Atlanta, all that history seemed to slip away with each shallow breath he took. No one knew at that moment that Arthur hadn't touched a piano in 6 years, not since the night his daughter vanished without a trace after a fight about her music career. He blamed himself. She wanted to go pop. He called it selling out. They screamed. She left, and she never came back. The doctor said it was a severe stroke, localized but dangerous. "He's lucky to be alive," said Dr. Lena Patel, neurologist. But there's something unusual. His brain activity during unconsciousness, it's rhythmic, almost musical. But the truly shocking thing was this: when they ran a sleep EEG, the waveform patterns matched the exact tempo and phrasing of Autumn Leaves, the song Arthur always played as an encore. His nurse, Maria, noticed it first. Late one night, while checking his vitals, she heard humming faint, broken notes rising from his lips. Then came the words, slurred but clear. "I'm sorry, Claire. I should have listened." And then the doorbell rang. It wasn't the hospital door. It was the bell at his lakeside cottage in upstate New York, the one no one had entered in nearly a decade. Security footage showed nothing. No cars, no footprints, just the chime echoing through empty rooms at exactly 3:07 a.m. Back in Atlanta, Arthur began waking in fragments, sometimes lucid, sometimes lost. One afternoon, he grabbed Maria's wrist with surprising strength. "There's a box," he whispered, "under the floorboard, near the fireplace. Play it for her." She didn't know who her was. But the next day, she called his longtime manager, Harold Finch, a man known as much for his silence as his loyalty. Harold arrived with a worn leather briefcase and a look that said he'd been waiting for this call for years. "Arthur hasn't spoken to me since Claire disappeared," he admitted. "But I kept everything, her demos, his letters. Even the voicemail she left the night she left home." Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. When Harold played that voicemail, it wasn't Claire's voice that startled him. It was someone whispering in the background. A male voice, low, calm, repeating 2 words, "not yet." This was the exact moment everything changed. Because Claire Bellwether hadn't just walked out. She'd been taken, and the last person to see her alive, a reclusive record producer named Victor Crane, who vanished the same week and was never seen again. Now what you've seen is nothing compared to what's hidden in that floorboard. Maria flew to the cottage herself. The place smelled of pine and dust, the windows clouded with time. She found the loose board near the stone hearth, just as Arthur described. Beneath it, a rusted metal box sealed with wax. Inside, a cassette tape labeled "For Claire, If I Fail." Also, a photo of a young woman standing beside a grand piano, smiling, holding sheet music titled "Songbird." That night, Maria played the tape on an old Sony recorder she found in the attic. It started with silence, then breathing, then Arthur's voice, strong, awake, full of rage. "I know what Victor did," he said. "I saw the tapes. He drugged her. Said she had too much soul for today's market, that he needed to reshape her sound. When I confronted him, he laughed. Told me fame has a price." Yeah. And artists like Claire, they pay in advance. The recording crackled. I tried to get her out, but he had men, cameras everywhere, hidden mics in her room. I couldn't risk calling the police. He said he'd destroy every copy of her music if I did. So I made a deal. I'd disappear, retire, stay silent. And in return, he'd let her go after 1 year.
"You won't believe it, but the tape ended with a child singing, a little girl, voice pure,
singing Autumn Leaves.
Queen."
And then the doorbell rang again. This time, Maria answered. Standing on the porch was a woman in her late 30s, eyes wide, trembling.
Is my father alive?" she asked. "Claire Bellwether."
Alive. God! Behind her stood a teenage girl, her daughter, Lily, born in captivity, raised in silence, taught to sing only the songs Victor allowed. Claire explained it all through tears. Victor had faked her death, erased her digital footprint, moved her across state lines. He kept her locked in a soundproof studio, forcing her to record under fake names.
He told me Dad disowned me,
she sobbed. Said he didn't care if I lived or died. But there was a twist. Even she didn't know. Victor Crane wasn't acting alone. Harold Finch, the loyal manager, had been on Victor's payroll for decades. And when Arthur finally woke fully, days later he looked at Maria and whispered, "We have to stop the gala." The annual Jazz Legacy Gala, where Harold would receive a Lifetime Achievement Award, was set for Saturday night. Hundreds expected. Broadcast live, the perfect stage for a final reckoning. Arthur couldn't walk, couldn't speak clearly, but his mind was sharp. "He thinks he's untouchable," Arthur muttered. "But I have proof, not just the tape. There's another one Victor made of himself, boasting, calling Claire his masterpiece. It's hidden in the piano." Which piano? The one at the gala. The restored 1927 Steinway, donated anonymously by him. This was his last chance. With help from Maria, Claire, and a retired FBI agent who owed Arthur a favor, they devised a plan. Plant a camera inside the piano, lure Harold into confessing, record everything, go public. But Victor was watching. He'd been tracking Claire's movements since her escape, and when he saw news of Arthur's recovery, he made one call. "Took you long enough," Harold answered. "You promised silence," Victor hissed. "Now he's digging. She's alive. This falls apart. We both burn." "I'll handle it," Harold said coldly, "one way or another. An injustice that could happen to any of us." Artists silenced, voices stolen, families shattered by greed disguised as mentorship. "What would you do if it were you?" Legends mingled. Champagne flowed. Harold gave a moving speech about sacrifice, legacy, loyalty. Then Arthur was wheeled onto the stage. Gasps, tears, a standing ovation. Even that strong person was once this helpless, his hands twitching, his voice strained as he spoke. "I came here tonight," he said slowly, "not for awards, but for truth." The crack in Arthur's voice broke something in everyone listening. He pointed to Harold. "This man promised to protect my daughter. Instead, he helped bury her." Shouts erupted. Security moved in. But the truly shocking thing was this. Lily, Claire's daughter, stepped onto the stage with a microphone. "I want to sing," she said. No one stopped her. She began to sing Songbird, the song Claire wrote at 16, the one Victor stole, the one Arthur thought lost forever. As her voice soared, the hidden camera inside the Steinway activated. Footage played on the main screen. Victor Crane, smug, on camera. Claire Bellwether will never be heard again. But her voice? Oh, it'll top charts! Under someone else's name. And Harold nodding, handing over his suitcase. Clean sweep. Forever. Everyone knew the truth, but the real shock was seeing it unfold in real time. Chaos exploded. Police stormed in. Harold tried to run but tripped over the piano bench, collapsing as cuffs snapped shut. Victor, watching remotely from a bunker in Tennessee, slammed his fist into a monitor. Just when they thought it was over, an envelope arrived at the station. Inside, more tapes, dozens of them. Girls, boys, talented, trapped, voices erased. A network, bigger than anyone imagined. Arthur held Lily close as reporters shouted questions. "You saved her," Maria said. "No," he whispered. "She saved me." He looked at Claire, tears streaming. "I'm sorry I didn't fight sooner." She kissed his forehead. "You're fighting now." Months later, the Songbird Initiative launched, a non-profit to protect young artists from exploitation. Lily became its first ambassador. At the launch concert, Arthur sat at a new piano. He placed his hands on the keys, slowly, painfully. Then he played, not Autumn Leaves, but Songbird, stronger, stronger. Greed, Jubyu read, stronger. Full of fire. As the final note faded, the crowd rose. And somewhere, deep in a prison cell, Harold Finch heard the broadcast on a smuggled radio. He smiled, because beneath his shirt, taped to his chest, was a second flash drive, and on it, a voice message from Victor. "We planned for this," it said. Phase 2 begins now. When he read that document hidden in his shoe, when the guard turned the corner and saw him whispering into a pen-shaped recorder, when the flight manifest surfaced showing a private jet leaving Nashville at dawn with a passenger listed as Dr. Elias Reed, a name that didn't exist. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. Victor Crane had a twin brother, and he'd been silent for 30 years. But not anymore. The phone rang in Arthur's cottage. Maria answered. The voice on the other end was familiar but colder. "Tell Arthur the melody isn't over." And then the line went dead. But there was still something she didn't know. Claire had received the same call. One that sounded composed by someone else. Now what you've seen is nothing, because talent like that doesn't appear out of nowhere, and secrets like these, they never stay buried. As the security guards approached the terminal gate, guns drawn, when the door opened, what they saw would haunt them for life. A room filled with monitors, each playing a different young artist, singing, dancing, unaware. And on the wall, written in red, "The world loves a star. We just make sure they never shine too bright." Just when they thought it was over, the broadcast cut to static. Then a single frame flashed, 22 seconds long, 22 seconds long. Arthur's face, young, smiling, and behind him, two shadows. One was Victor, the other unclear, but tall, wearing a hat, holding a baton, like a conductor, waiting. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because the final tape, recovered from a locker in Omaha, showed something worse than theft. It showed collaboration, names, dates, payments to people still in power, senators, judges, network executives, all part of the silence, all profiting from stolen voices. And at the bottom of the list, circled in black ink, was a name that made Arthur drop the paper, his own, forged or signed in a moment of weakness he couldn't remember. He carried the weight of loneliness on his shoulders, yes. But now, something heavier, doubt. Could he have known? Could he have been part of it? Even that strong person was once this helpless. Lily's new song was climbing the charts. Number 9, and rising. Labels fought to sign her, but she refused them all. "I only perform at Songbird events," she said, "and I only play original music." Then why did a studio in Memphis report a leaked demo? Same melody, same lyrics, but sung by a girl who disappeared in 2003, recorded in a basement. Date stamped June 14, 2 weeks before she vanished. And produced by V.C. Victor Crane. But impossible, because Lily had never heard that version. Had she? When the phone rang, his life would change forever. Arthur answered. It was Lily. "Dad," she said, "I found something in Grandma's old trunk, a diary from 1985. It says, you tried to stop someone back then, a man stealing music, but you failed. And you swore, if it ever happened again, you'd burn the world down." He froze, because he didn't remember writing that. But the handwriting was his. And then the doorbell rang. Again, he limped to the door. No one there, just a package, no return address. Inside, a vinyl record, black label, no title. He placed it on the turntable. The needle dropped, and from the speakers came a voice, his own, singing a duet with a woman, her voice hauntingly familiar. Then the realization hit. It was Claire, but not from the past. This recording was new, recent, and in the background, Lily's humming, overlapping, layered, like it had been spliced together. But there was still something he didn't know. The studio that made the record? Shut down in 1999. And the engineer listed? Deceased since 2001. So who made this? And why send it now? This was the exact moment everything changed. Because Lily wasn't just talented, she was known by Victor before she was born. Files uncovered in a server breach showed a project, Echo Generation. Goal: clone artistic genius through psychological replication. Method: isolate prodigies, study their families, recreate their environments, then implant triggers, songs, phrases, scents that would awaken inherited trauma and talent. Lily wasn't just Claire's daughter, she was designed, and the trigger, Arthur's music, specifically Autumn Leaves. Neural pathways identical to Claire's documented in a secret study from 1998. Impossible unless you haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, the neurologist said. He pulled up DNA results. Lily and Claire, Not mother and daughter. Sisters, separated at birth. Claire had a twin, given away, raised by a couple in Ohio, adopted, lost, until now. Her name? Emily. But she called herself Lily now, and she had no memory of it. Brainwashed, rewritten, like a program just when they thought it was over. Emily, Lily vanished. Her last text to Claire, I remember the basement, I remember the piano, I have to go back. And then the doorbell rang. This time at Victor's abandoned studio. Claire followed the signal. She found Emily standing in a circle of candles, hands on a keyboard, eyes closed, singing in perfect harmony with a recording of herself. From 2003, impossible, it's a loop, Emily whispered. He recorded me as a baby, played it back every night, said I'd grow into my voice, that I'd become inevitable. But the truly shocking thing was this: Victor wasn't working alone. He was part of a society. Old money. Obsessed with art, with control. They believed true genius could be bred, harvested, owned. And Arthur? He wasn't just a victim. He was recruited in 1973, offered wealth, fame, protection, for one condition: if his bloodline ever showed exceptional talent, they'd come to claim it. He refused, fought back, got Claire hidden temporarily. But they found her and erased her, until now. When the security guards approached the underground chamber beneath the old theater, when the door opened, what they saw defied belief. A library, thousands of tapes, each labeled with a name, living artists, deceased legends, children, all with one thing in common: they'd been taken and indexed by year, by voice type, by market value. At the center, a chair, leather, worn, and on it, a name tag: Arthur Bellwether, reserved for when he joins us. Everyone knew the truth, but the real shock was the membership list. Musicians, actors, politicians, all donors, all beneficiaries, all silent, and at the top, a single initial, V, not Victor. Valentine, his father, the man who discovered jazz and corrupted it. Arthur fell to his knees. Because the final tape was labeled Initiation, Arthur B., date, October 17, 1973. He pressed play and heard his own voice say, I accept the terms, for fame, for glory, for music eternal. No, he never said that. It was forged. But the signature? Real. He'd signed something that night. A contract. Blank page. Tricked. Used. And now they owned his bloodline. Unless. You won't believe it, but there's a way out, Claire said, holding a ledger. Every member had a weakness, a sin, a secret, exposed, buried in code within the tapes. Cross-reference the audio frequencies, reveal coordinates, hidden vaults, blackmail files, enough to bring them all down, but only if released at once, simultaneously. Across every major news outlet, one button, one moment, one moment, one moment. Global exposure. But press it, and they'd come for them, forever. Two tough choices only: silence and survival, truth and war. Arthur looked at Emily. No, Lily and Claire, his family, broken, brave, alive. He picked up the phone, connected to 5 networks, entered the code. This is where every artist they stole, he said. Pressed send. The world exploded. Headlines, protests, arrests, 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 arrests. Within hours, 12 members were detained. Victor captured in Belize. Harold broke down, revealing safe houses, aliases, offshore accounts. The society cracked, and the music finally free. 6 months later, Arthur sat by the lake watching Lily, now using her real name, Emily, teach a group of rescued teens how to compose. She played a new song. Original. Powerful. Arthur smiled. Then his phone rang. Unknown number, he answered. The voice was distorted. Mechanical. The song lives on, it said. You stopped the players, but the melody, it paused. We are the composers. And then the line went dead. But there was still something he didn't know. In a lab in Switzerland, a machine hummed inside a vial of blood. Labeled Bellwether, Genesis, Prodigy, P.S. And on a screen above it, a heartbeat. Artificial. Growing. Waiting. When the scientist removed the mask and smiled, you haven't seen the biggest surprise yet.